Hello everyone, and welcome to another Company Heroes 2 replay cast. My name is ATR, and today we're going to have ourselves a 1v1 on Road to Kharkov. Our heroes today are going to be SturmTigerPeruci, playing for the Soviets, and his opponent is going to be Chukonoku, or Chukonoku, it's Chukonoku, so it's, Chukonoku, there you go, playing for the Germans. So let's talk about our players a little bit. I gotta say, both are kind of evenly matched. Chukonoku here that we see is currently ranked 61 for his German play, so top 100 player right here. And Peruci is currently ranked 53 for his Soviet play, so again, top 100 there. So very evenly matched. We should be expecting a very good game here, I hope at least. And we shall see. Now, right off the bat, we see that Chukonoku has selected his Doctrine, and that is the Festung armor Doctrine, as you can see it right here. Now, interesting thing that maybe some of you may have noticed is that Chukonoku only had one icon there for the commanders that he could select, and that wasn't a glitch or anything. I had to double check, but he actually went into the game with only one commander option available. I didn't even know you could do that. I mean, obviously you can go into a game with a mindset that you want to go for a specific strategy, but I didn't even know that you could just select one. But yeah, he just went for the Festung armor Doctrine, so he selected it as soon as he could, because, well, what else was he going to do, right? So there you go. So, so far, Road to Kharkov, we haven't seen a lot of it, but I do like it. It's kind of nice. Pretty much both players capping their side of the map. Build order-wise, we have 3 conscripts already out for Peruci, 4th one coming up. Did he get Molotovs? He has not gotten Molotovs, so straight into 4 conscripts, probably Molotovs coming after that. And for Chukonoku, we see that he got tier 1, as you would expect, getting 2 Grenadiers, an MG42, and then a 3rd Grenadier after that, so very nice. So now we're finally going to see an engagement. It looks like we have conscripts vaulting over this wall, and they're going to run into those Pyos. Those Pyos will lose the fight, but will they cap the point? Yes, they cap the point at the very last second. They move out of the way, and the conscripts should be able to cap the point themselves. The Pyos decide to continue moving, and they retreat because, yeah, the conscripts were right on top of them. So the conscripts now set up in a defensive position and will capture the point. Right-hand side, we see some conscripts moving down the road. They're going to run into some Grenadiers. The MG42 is not even set up, just rallied over into that side. Running into those Grenadiers, we see that the MG42 is shifting position, going to set up to cover this approach, and the conscripts decide to back off. There's a second conscript squad moving into the heavy cover of the wall, which will start getting shot at by the MG42. However, the heavy cover will keep them protected. Conscript squad moves around the corner, takes some shots from the MG42, but backs off without getting suppressed very nicely there. Far right-hand side, conscripts uraying to get on top of that Grenadier squad. They do get themselves into light cover, which will give them that advantage, but the Grenadiers close the distance. Molotov flies right on top of them, but the Grenadiers have long gone from there, so the conscripts will probably lose that fight. Center map, we have more engagements. 2 conscript squads going straight against the Grenadiers. A 3rd one coming in for a little bit of a flank. The MG42 is set up to cover the entire approach and will shoot at the conscripts in the center. The other conscript squad shifts to get into the center and will be in the arc of fire of the MG42. The MG42 turning to the center one. The conscripts move out of the way. And the ones on the far right-hand side are now down to 3 men. 3 against 2, 2 against 2, forces the retreat. And they will make it out alive, but just barely. Center map, these conscripts are crawling in the dirt, but there is another conscript squad there for support. Another Molotov will probably get tossed right on top of these Grenadiers. No, the Grenadiers decide to shift, and they will dodge anything. Conscripts over here capturing this point, denying, well, not really much, but, no, yeah, never mind. Doesn't actually deny anything. This point right here is the one that connects the right-hand side, so they still have points, but the conscripts are now moving forward, and they will cut off the entire map against Chukonoku. Back at base, we do have tier 2 going down for Chukonoku, and he has not gotten anything from this just yet. But considering his current setup, I would assume he's going to be getting a half-track to support his infantry. I would assume, I don't know actually. Anyways, conscripts going around, decap that fuel point. The MG42 is set up to cover it. They will shoot at the conscripts as they are out in the open. They manage to stave off suppression for a little bit, back off, and now get suppressed. They're going to try to crawl out of range into the house, but the point will be fallen. Although, no, they're going to jump into the house before they do that. The Grenadiers move in. Oh, they actually do decap the point right at the last second. A little bit slower reaction there by Chukonoku. His Grenadiers are down to 2 men each, and he decides to instead go for a Panzer Grenadier. trying to get more anti-infantry capabilities on the field, and we now have a mortar on the field for Peruci. He did go for tier 2, so that is a, you know, standard mortar, not a doctrinal 120. But that'll help out a little bit. There is only one MG42, so those grenadiers will be quite difficult targets for the mortar, but, you know, it could do the job. So right now, a lot of infantry retreating for Chukonoku. We see that Peruci is now in a dominant position, capturing the entire right-hand side of the map. Center map, we have another Grenadier squad retreating while the Pios are trying to recap their point. These conscripts are trying to capture the point that will connect the right-hand side to, well, their territory, in fact, because this point would connect through the victory point. And there we go, they connect that. That one is going to be able to connect the rest, because this point over here is in enemy hands and would not connect these territories. But I'm pretty sure that mortar is going to be moving to that direction and be used for capping. Yeah, I mean, it's a nice position to set it up right there, maybe behind this hedge here. Panzer Grenadiers moving onto the field for Chukonoku. The conscripts do set themselves up in some heavy cover to fight against the Panzer Grenadiers. Panzer Grenadiers move forward, probably going to throw a bundle nade on top of these guys. No, Molotov landing on top of them instead and doing a little bit of damage, but they do manage to force away that conscript squad quite easily, with those assault rifles doing incredible amounts of damage. Down to one man on that conscript squad. Barely makes it out alive. The mortar does shift and get out of the way. Panzer Grenadiers managed to stop the cap of that point, so those right-hand resources are not going to be in control of Peruci. And the conscripts over here on the right-hand side are now getting assaulted by everything currently reinforced. MG42 set up in the back. Grenadiers flooding the right-hand side. Molotov landing on the Grenadiers as they approach. Very nice. One squad down to one man. Could get focused down, but does decide to retreat. Runs through the fire, but it's a very healthy man. A little bit of fire returning weapons and, a uniform. And a one-man conscript squad is retreating. No, gets executed on the retreat. Unfortunate there for Peruci, so he now has to turn around on him. Maxim machine gun on the field will try to defend the left-hand side of the map. The Panzer Grenadiers are going to go for the cutoff of that point, while this point over here is getting mined by combat engineers. Conscript squad in the north finally retreating down to one man. Does make it out alive, however, so at least he still has 3 conscripts on the field. Maxim machine gun moves in to push away those Panzer Grenadiers. The Panzer Grenadiers shift away, then shift back, then shift away. They're not entirely sure what they want to do. Drink. And the Panzer Grenadiers run right on top of the combat engineers. The combat engineers getting caught down to one man. They are going to die. I don't think they're going to make it out. Nope, there it goes. So a nice pickup again for those Panzer Grenadiers. So these Panzer Grenadiers have made quite an impact on the field as soon as they come out. Now veterans C1 with 13 kills to their name, still at 4 men. Haven't retreated once. Quite an impressive pair of, well, not pair, but set of units there. New Panzer Grenadier squad on the field, so that it will further increase Chukonoku's anti-infantry capabilities. We have tier 2, like we said, down for Peruci. Peruci will be able to, use those Maxim machine guns and weapons to his advantage, but he is taking quite a bit of losses now. Chukonoku, for his part, while he has suffered defeats and engagements, he hasn't actually lost any of his squads, so he's doing a very good job there. Panzer Grenadiers running into some conscripts. The conscripts are in heavy cover. Bundle nade right on top of them. They do dodge it quite nicely and head into another set of heavy cover. Panzer Grenadier squad, however, coming up behind them for the flank. They will get in range and massacre them right there. They need to retreat now. Down to 2 men on the retreat. Down to 1. I don't think this guy's going to make it out alive. He is very healthy. No, but yeah. As healthy as you may be, you may eat all you want and, be in perfect shape, but a bullet's still going to kill you. So another conscript squad down for Peruci. Peruci now in a horrible spot. Conscript squad again getting caught in the open by that Panzer Grenadier squad. They are rather far away, so the conscripts just continue to move away, and they'll be alive. Second conscript squad over on the right-hand side for support, and the mortar is pretty much the only thing here holding the line. Maxim machine gun pushing back, and we now see a Doctrine selection for Peruci, and that is going to be the Soviet Shock Army. You can see it right there. And he is going to be... not entirely sure what he's going to be doing. Probably getting PPSHs on his conscripts, I would assume. Or getting some chop troops to try to combat those Panzer Grenadiers. Probably what he's aiming for. So the Panzer Grenadiers are currently just moving around the field, really with nothing to worry about. They're killing everything in their path. Running, shooting, scooting and shooting very easily. Far left-hand side, Grenadiers go for the victory point, and the conscripts are helpless to do much about it. They are set up in some light cover by the carts and hay bales, and they just win the engagement hands down. Conscripts trying to capture that point. Grenadier retreating in the face of the conscripts. The conscripts will not be able to execute them. They are not Panzer Grenadiers. And more conscripts just trying to penetrate behind enemy lines, going for some aggressive capping, but there's not a lot of infantry on the field for Peruci to be able to pull that off. Maxim machine gun going down south to try to stop those Grenadiers from just capping without any opposition. And they should be able to win that. And now we have shock troops coming into the field finally for Peruci, so that should hopefully even out the field. We do have another Maxim machine gun on the field, this one taking a rifle nade to the face, down to 3 men. Does manage to get the suppression on the Grenadiers and forces them off at the end, but the rifle nade did do quite a bit of damage. You can see the men just crawling there with their friends, not able to help them out. PPSH is equipped on the conscripts. They URA past the arc of fire of that MG42 and force it away. They will manage to pick up that victory point. And as far as point goes, we have 403 for Peruci and 360 for Chukonoku. So currently, Peruci still holding strong there, but he is, you know, starting to run out of time, I guess you could say. Time, not really, you know, that big an issue just yet, but the points are going to be equalizing rather soon. Maxim machine gun set up in a nice position to support that conscript squad that's trying to capture that point. We have center engagement, shock troops running into the Grenadiers. The Grenadiers do end up retreating, and the shock troops shoot as they run, but they will not be able to get any kills on that squad. And we now have tier 3 going down for Chukonoku, or, well, already down. So he's probably going to be going for some tanks. I shouldn't say probably, definitely, considering that everything from that tier is tanks. Grenade going down into the house, eliminates the Panzer Grenadier squad down to 1 man, jumps through the wall and retreats at 1 man. Very lucky to be alive, but the shock troops did do quite a bit of damage there. Far left-hand side, the Maxim machine gun still trying to hold the line. Going for the victory point, trying to stabilize. Victory points in the center getting captured, so at least Peruci is being aggressive to capture the points so that he doesn't drop very much in his current, you know, victory point count. 376 for Peruci and 353 for Chukonoku. Nice nade right on top of the Grenadiers. Oh, a lot of damage and a mortar round behind it. Down to 2 men. The Pios also retreat in the face of the nade. They got a little bit spooked there. And Grenadiers with LMG do force away the shock group squad, however, down to 2 men. But they did do quite a bit of damage there. Conscripts with their PPSHs over here in the north, going to cap those points. And Peruci has done a very decent job of recovering the territory. We can see that unit-wise, they're pretty much evenly matched. That we have 2 Maxim machine guns to 1 MG42, but we have 3 Grenadiers to 2 conscripts and 2 Panzer Grenadiers to 1 shock troop. So, I mean, Chukonoku has a lot of infantry in the field to be able to deal with all that. But we'll see. Maxim machine gun and Grenz running into each other. The Maxim machine gun does manage to set up right in time, getting a pin down on the Grenadier, killing the men in front of them, but the other men retreat even though they were already out of the arc of fire. Likewise, the conscript squad is forced to retreat due to the MG42 in the center taking a look at them and shooting them. They didn't like that quite much. And the Maxim machine gun over here on the north is finally capping points and manages to pin down some Grenadier squads, but decides to retreat at the end because of a rifle nade going down on top of it. Mines getting laid down on this side of the map for Peruci. Very nice, very nice. And 1 mine was right there that already got detonated. And something died. That was a conscript squad at some point. Where was it? Over here? Probably over here. There is a lot of men dead right there, so yeah, probably around here. Engineers on the field. Enemy capturing points, capturing points, capturing points. So right now, Chukonoku back on the offensive essentially is recapturing the territory, going over to the north, down over here on the left-hand side south, capturing territory. And CturmTigerPeruci is moving back with his forces to try to retake and reclaim territory. He now has an AT gun on the field. A little bit of a preemptive AT gun by his side because he hasn't actually seen the Panzer IV. But a very nice read because the Panzer IV, well, as we can see, is now on the field. So that AT gun will help out against that. Unfortunately, though, the Panzer IV could just focus on the other side of the map if he notices or knows that the AT gun is there. Which he should because it has shot at him. So if he's aware of that, he'll notice that an AT gun was on the field. Conscripts and Grenadiers duking it out in the center. The Conscripts are in heavy cover, but the Grenadiers are there as well. Nice Molotov on top of the Grenadiers. quite a bit of damage, forces them away, and the Maxim machine gun annihilates one of them as they retreat. Grenadiers moving up to replace them. They do have an LMG, so they'll do quite a bit of damage to this squad. This squad is now Veterancy 2, gaining 40% accuracy, which will allow them to do a little bit more damage. Shock Troopers moving through the very edge of the map, trying to apparently go for a surprise attack, but they do get noticed by Panzer Grenadiers. The Panzer Grenadiers shift back to the point, and they're just sitting there. We have an 18-8 going back, and the Panzer IV in the center is just running over barrels and other things. And the Shock Troops are just sitting there waiting. Panzer IV moving over to the north. He knows that the Shock Troops were around there, so he's going to force them out of the field. And there they go, forcing the retreat because they can't do anything against the tank. Maxim machine guns down in the south, trying to do what they can to hold the line. Conscripts with PPSA just running into those Grenadiers. The Grenadiers are suppressed by the Maxim, and they are forced to retreat. So the conscripts will manage to recapture territory. And the center, Grenadiers retreating after capturing. Doesn't look like they suffered much, but, well, they are in full retreat. So the Shock Troops barely making it back to the base now. Combat Engineers moving out, and we now have Tier 3 down for Peruci with a T-34 coming onto the field. T-34 will help them, you know, combat that Panzer IV a little bit better, although it loses on a one-on-one fight most of the time. But with the help of 18-8s and AT guns, that T-34 could, you know, win a fight. Maxim machine gun getting surprised there by the Panzer IV, forced to retreat, and we have a bunker down on the field for Chukonoku covering the entire approach, although if you see here, there is a small gap on the right-hand side where that bunker could get flanked. However, for general purposes, you'll see Peruci sending his units to cap this point, and he's just gonna, you know, force them off. Right-hand side, we see a full rout of everything out of the field for Peruci. We see some Panzer Grenadiers poking and penetrating behind enemy lines. Maxim machine gun trying to hold its line, but the Panzer Grenadiers are falling right on top of them. The Maxim machine gun does shoot at them, but they're going to go for a flank around them. AT gun is shooting at the Panzer Grenadiers, but it's probably going to get cleared out if there's no support. T-34 on the field, however, is going straight at those Panzer Grenadiers. The Panzer Grenadiers are coming in for the flank on the Maxim machine gun. The Maxim machine gun turns around and sets up against the Panzer Grenadiers. Panzer Grenadiers going to throw a bundle nade on top of that Maxim machine gun, I would assume. No, they're forced to retreat by the T-34 right on top of them, and they're going to have to get out of there. The Pioneers as well retreat, and the right-hand side, the pretty much everything that Peruci has is just moving in that direction. AT guns, Maximums, machine guns. That is the Latin term, right? So the T-34 on the right, left-hand side is going to run into that Panther. Right, that's Panther now. That Panzer. But the Panzer ran into the mine, however, so it has engine damage now. And obviously it has taken some damage, so that's going to force him to back off. Grenadiers do move into range and throw a Faust off on that T-34, so the T-34 will be a little bit more cautious and back off. The AT gun does move into, to support the T-34 so that it doesn't just get circled by the Panzer IV, and we now see Chukonoku getting himself a Stug. So a very nice selection. We've seen this being used a lot more often. Previously, we would see only Panzer IVs and nothing but Panzer IVs. But usually what I've been seeing, or we've been seeing a lot more often now, is, yeah, the Panzer IV comes out as the first thing, but then afterwards you get a Stug for additional, armor or anti-vehicle support, rather than getting more Panzer IVs, or even a Flak Panzer, Flak Panzer, not as good, but it does do wonders against infantry. Center map, we saw some conscripts retreating in the face of Grenadiers. Left-hand side, we see the T-34s moving in to take out that bunker to open up the left-hand side approach. 2 T-34s now on the field for Peruci, so he now is evenly matched as far as armor counts, and he's getting himself a third one, which will allow him to win that. However, ooh, a nasty shot there by that Stug. Manages to take out the engine of that T-34, or at least damage it, not take it out, but now the engine is destroyed. T-34 shoots back in anger, but only ends up bouncing off the frontal armor. Keep in mind that the Stug, the reason why it's awesome that it is being used now is that it actually has, I'm not entirely sure if more damage, but at the very least it has more range than a Panzer IV. So while the Panzer IV is very good against the T-34, and the Stug, is not as great against the T-34 in the fact that it doesn't have a turret, it has way more range. You can see that. It just shot from there. The Panzer IV was just sitting there not doing much, and the Stug took it out. AT gun also getting cleared out by the Pios and Panzer Grenadiers, so there's a free AT gun there for Chukonoku. And the T-34s are now taken out. The other one is still moving back to get some repairs. Where are the combat engineers for Peruci? They are over back at base. Not sure why they're back at base and not moving out into the field to repair. T-34s move forward and is going to annihilate that Pio squad if it doesn't retreat. Sitting there looking at it, does retreat and does not manage to get the cap on that point. The Panzer IV and the Stug are moving in unison in this direction. And the Pios are just there. It looks like Chukonoku decides that he doesn't actually want that AT gun. He's just going to destroy it so that Peruci does not recover it later on. So finally, the combat engineers get off their ass and they're going to start doing some repairs on the second T-34. Or the OG T-34, you could say. And, ooh, a squad got annihilated over here. Was that a Panzer Grenadier squad? Yes, that was a... Oh! That was a nasty shot there by the mortar. But yeah, that was a Panzer Grenadier squad. Those are the Stormgewehr rifles. Look at that. So Panzer Grenadier squad goes down on the right-hand side for Chukonoku. So a nice pickup there for Peruci. But the left-hand side flank is now popped wide open by the armor. Panzer IV and Stug moving forward. That T-34 by itself cannot hope to hold the line. And the Panzer IV does quite a bit of damage. The Stug, unfortunately, it was being maneuvered, so it didn't get off many shots. So that T-34 is still alive at about half health. Second T-34 now at full strength. Combat engineers need to get, again, on the repairs as soon as they can. And over on the far right, north, I guess you could say, shock troops getting pinned down by the MG-42. They did throw a nade at it and managed to do a little bit of damage, but now they're pinned down and they need to retreat. Not sure why they're sitting there taking additional damage. And we see that Chukonoku gets yet another vehicle for his armored vehicle, or a tank basically, for his mobile army, and it's a command tank this time around. So a nice combination there of tanks. That command tank will provide buffs if he is used, to support the other tanks as well. And even so, infantry and such that is in the area of that tank will get defensive buffs. T-34 on the right-hand side is going to run into that Panzer IV. This is a more evenly matched setup. I think the T-34 might actually win that one a little bit more often, but the Panzer IV will do quite a bit of damage to it. It is a medium tank. So, Panzer IV taking some shots at the approaching infantry. MU-42 opens up with its incendiary rounds on the approaching conscripts. The conscripts will crawl to try to get in range for a nade. The Panzer is shooting at the Maxim machine gun and forces everything away. We now see the other tanks moving into the zone to get right next to their commanding officer tank. And the Panzer IV, command tank Panzer IV, is running straight into the T-34. Now, however, the other tanks made themselves known, and that T-34 is in a lot of trouble. Backing off very slowly. The second T-34 is over on the left-hand side, and this one is getting the hell out of there and is going to concede that side of the map. Panzer Grenadiers forced away by the T-34 down in the south, and they do not manage to capture that fuel point. And a very evenly matched here. Victory point-wise, we have 217 points for Peruci and 296 for Chukonoku. So Chukonoku currently in the lead, and Peruci running a little bit out of time. The three tanks are moving down to the south to engage that T-34 that dared to oppose the Panzer Grenadiers. Nasty shots flying from the tanks at that T-34. T-34 down to about 10% health at most. And the Stug is going on the hunt. The Maxim machine gun also taking quite a beating to all these tanks. Forced away, and the other T-34 is back at base. T-4 would not go amiss here against for Peruci, but I don't think he actually has enough to be able to put it to use. Yeah, he doesn't actually have enough fuel. You can see it right there, 170 fuel. He would need more than that. T-34 still damaged, but it moves over to the left-hand side to get support by the combat engineers that are currently on the field, so at least some field repairs will go in hand. Shock troops forced to retreat by the command tank, and the Panzer IV and Stug move over to the north to defend this point and get the Pios to repair, because even though they did win the fight, all the tanks took a little bit of damage. They're not in the best shape, so they're gonna go back for a little bit. Maxim machine gun trying to sneak, through the edge of the map, just running into a Panzer IV and the Stug. MG-42 as well, down to 2 men, needs to retreat right now. Down to 1 man, that is A little bit of a misstep there by Peruci. A nasty shot there by the mortar ends up taking it out. And in fact, the weapon itself got destroyed, so it's no longer available to get picked up. I suppose that is, you know, small mercies because, at the very least, for Peruci, Chukonoku doesn't get a free MG, right? Left-hand side, the victory point did get taken by Peruci to slow down the bleeding, and he's still repairing that tank. Panzer Grenadiers forced to retreat through the center. That is another T-34 that is harassing. And we have another Maxim machine gun and conscripts pushing into the center. This conscript squad is about to vet up to 3, so that's going to be a very good squad. It is the only conscript squad on the field, however. And there you go, Veteran C3 acquired. The other squad over here is barely into Veteran C2, so that's going to take them a while. But at Veteran C3, these conscripts do become more durable. I believe they gain 30% armor, if I'm not mistaken. I'll get that information in a second, but yeah. They get armor buffs, which means they will be able to last a little bit longer on the field, as long as you don't get too greedy. So all the tanks here for Chukonoku just wrecking phase, doing a lot of damage, keeping everything at bay, not even allowing them to move in. We have some Maxim machine gun crew moving into that house. That's a very big house, very sturdy, so it will be able to take quite a bit of punishment, but they'll eventually fall to Panzer IV, and they won't be able to do much to it. And yeah, I was correct. I double-checked right now, and it is 30% armor at Veteran C3, which means, you know, they can take a little bit more of a beating. Command tank getting a little bit harassed here by the... Oh, very nasty move there by Peruci. He moves in with the T-34, gets a couple shots off on the command tank, but ends up losing his T-34. However, a Sturmovik strafing run does go down and annihilates the Pioneer squad. And here comes the Sturmovik once again. What is it going to target? Is it going to target that Panzer IV? I believe it is. The command tank might be going down. And here comes the barrage. Ooh. Ugh. Panzer Grenadiers taking quite a beating, and the T-34 moves in to take advantage of that strike, and down goes the command tank. Nice little victory move there by Peruci, move for victory there. And we also see a railway artillery called in right into the center to that AT gun. The AT gun manages to get out of the range, and it's going to be fine. The Sturmovik is going to move out of the map and come in for another pass. What is it going to shoot at this time? Going to shoot at the Panzer IV. Panzer IV taking a little bit of a beating, but manages to absorb most of the damage without any real issue. And that Sturmovik is just going to move out of the map. There's a very awesome ability, even though it is, I would say, a little bit too strong. Oh, Maxim machine gun getting cleared out, but there is an AT gun throwing a barrage right on top of the MG42. The MG42 will get cleared out. Yes, it does, and the MG42 itself gets destroyed. So once again, another weapon that will not be able to be reused. AT gun in the center, shooting through the building right there around this area, because he knew that there was a Panzer IV in this sector, but the Panzer IV has since moved, so he's not hitting anything, and well, essentially just making himself known. Grenadiers pushing onto the field for Chukonoku. Those Grenadiers are Veteran C3, so they're going to do quite a bit of damage to this AT gun, and they will actually take it out if they pursue it. Although it looks like, no, yeah, he is going to pursue. No, he decides against it and thinks, you know, I'm just going to go for the point. So, SturmTigerPeruci about to get a triple cap, but he does get decapped in the center, so that's just a double cap. 127 points for Peruci, 280 for Chukonoku. So again, Chukonoku still in the lead, has a little bit of time left before he needs to put the pressure on. And he's still in possession of 2 vehicles, so he's not really in any bad shape. Third T-34 is being produced for Peruci, so he should be able to do quite a bit with that. Stug getting caught out in the open with the shock troops. The AT gun taking some shots at the Stug, manages to do a little bit of damage, but with everything falling right on top of them and a Panzer IV behind the AT gun, the crew ends up getting annihilated. Even the one that tried to retreat just got crushed there. And the T-34s are moving in force. One T-34 on the field. Is it going to go for a ram? It looks like it's not. The Stug takes a shot but misses. The T-34 backs off. More shots from the Stug gonna go off on the T-34. The T-34 stops right there. I think it thinks it can't be seen. T-34 is now moving in together, getting a little bit of a flank. Nice move there by Peruci. This T-34 is right behind the Stug. There is another Panzer IV on the field, however, for Chukonoku. So that is going to even out the engagement quite a bit. T-34 over here taking some shots at the Stug. Can the Stug go down? There is a third T-34 on the field, but the T-34 is not in there for support, apparently. And the other T-34 down to a sliver of health, trying to hide and run away from the Panzer IVs. The Panzer IVs are in hot pursuit. Can they get the kill? Veteran C2 acquired on this Panzer IV, gaining those sexy armored skirts. And they are taking out that T-34. T-34 is moving in, trying to go for that Stug. That Stug is very low in health, but will be able to do some damage to these T-34s as they approach. Down it goes, however, and the T-34s are now behind enemy lines, however, and the Panzer IVs are going to go up against them. We have shock troops moving in, which will not be able to support, and the T-34s might just decide to go for a drive-by into the enemy base and head back home after that. Faust's going to go off on the T-34, damaging the engine, so that T-34 is a goner. The Grenadiers are getting focused down by the T-34s. Can they get the kill? Down to one man. They might be able to get the kill on that squad. Out of control on one of the T-34. Actually crashes onto the veteran C2 Panzer IV. And the second T-34 will go down very quickly to 2 Panzer IVs. T-34 actually gets abandoned, and the pilots are in retreat. We shall see if Chukonoku decides to destroy it or capture it. It is very close to his base, so that would be quite unfortunate for Peruci if he ends up having to fight against his own vehicles. And we see that back at base, AT gun and mortar is just sitting there, but they are moving out right now. Not a lot left on the field for Peruci. He is down to just 1 shock troop squad as the only combat infantry, with 2 AT guns on the field, one of them getting capped right now by the shock troops. The Panzer IV is taking some shots at where the AT gun was, but the AT gun is now long gone. And there's also a mortar sitting there on the field that could get picked up with a Maxim machine gun as well. The conscripts did die at some point. I did not see when, but unfortunately for Peruci, he no longer has one. There's another AT gun there on the field that could get picked up, but he is producing another T-34 to try to at least have some type of vehicle, force. Another Panzer IV gets produced, and that is says he has 4. Oh yeah, there's one over here, standard Panzer IV, another Panzer IV, and Panzer IV. So he doesn't go for a command tank anymore. He does pick up that T-34 and is going to start the repairs at some point. But yeah, that's actually going to be very nasty for Chukonoku. Panzer IV over here on the north, however, does end up dying to that AT gun. Got a little bit too bold, too careless, too reckless, and ends up getting killed. So, got a little bit too greedy there for Chukonoku, but he's still in a very dominant position, and he could, well, very well take the game. 127 points left for Peruci, 177 for Chukonoku. Peruci currently capping those points and putting the bleed on Chukonoku, so again, Chukonoku still has some time. He's still in the lead, so he just needs to stabilize and start recapturing territory, because he has both the stronger infantry setup and, well, the stronger armored setup. There are 2 AT guns on the field he has to worry about, but that's about it. Veteran C2 Panzer IV running into the shock troops. The shock troops just running around, not able to do much against the tank. T-34 over here in the north, trying to do what it can. AT guns taking some shots at the Panzer IVs as they can, but the Panzer Grenadiers are running right on top of that AT gun. That AT gun is Veteran C2, but it will end up dying. And incredibly, it's Veteran C2 with no actual kills. A Sturmovik attack coming down on the Panzer Grenadiers, and it annihilates the squad. Well, at the very least, that was an amazing use of the ability, because the Panzer Grenadiers are now dead. So nice pickup there for Chukonoku. There is another Panzer Grenadier squad on the field, however, so he's not free, home free just yet. But they're currently back at base. This guy is loitering around. The Pios decide to retreat because they do not want to deal with that. And the plane ended up crashing somewhere. There it is. So the plane goes down to the gunners on top of the Panzer IVs. We have, how many gunners here? We have, well, this one doesn't have one. That's a T-34. 1, 2, and I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. But anyways, well, yeah, those guns can kill planes, as you saw, and it ended up crashing right there into the battlefield. So Peruci, once again, moving out onto the map, trying to recapture points, going for the center victory point, and Chukonoku not able to stop him from doing that. There are still 2 Grenadier squads and a Panzer Grenadier squad. However, they are vanilla. They have no veterancy, so these shock troops are quite a threat on the field right now. They have veterancy 2, and at veterancy 2, Shock troops get 20% armor, which means they're tougher, obviously. And 25% cooldown reduction, which means they actually shoot faster even with their SMGs, so that is quite potent. Shock troops on the left-hand side, they run into Panzer Grenadiers, but they are wrecking the Panzer Grenadiers. AT gun set up here, turning around, trying to shoot at its former tank ally, that T-34, but Bundle going down on the AT gun does clear it out quite a bit, down to 3 men. Shock troops running into that T-34. The T-34 is going to crush them. They are barely managing to stay out of the threats of that T-34, and we have the other T-34 moving in to shoot at its treacherous brother over here. AT gun turns around, trying to anticipate where the T-34 was going to move to, but the T-34 does not move. AT gun turns around, T-34 moves. AT gun going to turn around once again, and the T-34 continues to get shot in the butt by its Soviet-controlled partner. Main gun goes down, she's going to circle, shot bounces off, and the T-34 will go down. Best case scenario for Peruci, he would, you know, it would get decrewed, but I doubt that's going to happen here. Oh, it does get abandoned. Wow, that is quite a turn of events. Peruci might recover a T-34 in this situation, but we'll see. He does produce another one, and up in the north we have an engagement. Shock troops running into the Panzer IVs. They're trying to retreat, but they're getting mauled as they retreat, down to 3 men. These are veteran C2, however, so they have armor, but, well, as much armor as you have, taking a shot from a tank to the face doesn't really do much. T-34 about to clear out that squad, but there is a T-34 right in front of it, and I meant to say Panzer IV, not T-4. Panzer IV pops its smoke. T-34 continues to pursue and taking some shots at the rear armor of the Panzer IV. Will allow him to do quite a bit of damage, but the T-34 will back off. Left-hand side, we still have that abandoned tank. We'll see if Peruci decides to go for it at any point. It is probably in his best interest to do so if he can, but he does not have the manpower right now to be able to afford that, I guess you could say. T-34s and shock troops in the center. We have some Panzer Grenadiers moving in. T-34 notices them, takes a shot, and kills 2 instantly, and they're going to have to retreat. They continue to stay on the field. T-34 shoots again and misses, and the shock troops are circling around and going to fall right on top of those Panzer Grenadiers. The Panzer Grenadiers are in a lot of trouble. Panzer IV moves in to support, equalizes the situation. Down to 3 men on the shock troop squad is going to force a retreat, or they're going to die. Or they're going to die, or they're going to die. Retreat them. There they go. They're retreating down to 2 men. Can they make it out alive? I think they will. Missing with that. And a T-34 goes down on the right-hand side to now a veteran C3 Panzer IV. Panzer IV at veteran C3 is not as ridiculous as it once was, I gotta say, but it's still pretty badass. So at veteran C2, the Panzer IV gains... the Panzer IV gains 30% armor. That's what the armor skirts represent, and 40% turret rotation increase. So it means, you know, the turret obviously spins faster. And then at veteran C4, they get 30% reload reduction, which means it shoots faster. 20% increased rotation. So now basically you can just do circles around anything, and the turret is just going to keep track of it. And a 10% increase in acceleration, which means that, you know, not necessarily moves faster, but it accelerates faster, so it, you know, gets to top speed a little bit faster. So T-34 doing a very good job against this Panzer IV, manages to kill the gunner and do some penetrations to the frontal armor, gets abandoned, and the second T-34 is there for support. Will the Panzer IV focus down that T-34 to take it out of the field? It looks like he's not going to be able to. The T-34 is right on top of them, will manage to get a kill on this Panzer IV, and is this what Peruci needs to stabilize the situation? It might just be. Down goes one Panzer IV, manages to pick up the T-34 and needs to send it back to base and get a combat engineer ASAP. He needs one badly, otherwise he's not going to be able to do much, because those could actually pick up this T-34 over here and get him a little bit more armor for relatively free. Panzer IV still in the center, veteran C3, being very aggressive. Well, not aggressive, but very scary. And, yeah, victory point-wise, 107 down for Peruci, 120 for Chukonoku. Again, anybody's game at this point. They are being very aggressive, both of them. And the T-34 is moving over to the right-hand side, going to run into a brand new Panzer IV. That T-34 will not be able to win. Does take a nice shot at range and penetrates the frontal armor. We have some AT guns moving in for support, and also a mortar there in the zone to be able to bombard anything that is helping out the Panzer IV. Left-hand side, Panzer Grenadiers and Grenadiers do run into the abandoned tank. Will they actually go pick it up? I'm not entirely sure if they will. They might if they notice it, but maybe they don't even notice it. T-34 in the center. We have another T-34 on the field. Still the very damaged one over here on the left. They got recovered. And we see a SturmTigerPeruci strafing run. Not entirely sure where it went. It doesn't look like it actually did an initial strafe. And they shot at something over here, but that plane is going to be going down. Coming around for another pass, it looks like. Shock troops in the center getting assaulted by the Panzer Force, and that SturmTigerPeruci is... What is it doing? Doesn't actually have anything to shoot at. I guess it got aimed over on this side of the map. Yeah, probably. It does see these Panzer Grenadiers. And the Panzer Grenadier squad gets annihilated. Okay, so yeah, it was on this side of the map. Okay. So, sorry, I got a little bit focused there, but it's fine. Panzer Grenadier squad does go down. T-34 goes down in the center to the Panzer IVs. This Panzer IV is not really doing much. Just sits there covering this side of the map. There's still a T-34 there that is, well, pretty much unused. This T-34 over here finally getting some repairs. The other T-34 did go down in the center. And the AT guns are moving forward for Peruci, managing to stabilize the victory point situation at 107 and has brought Chukonoku down to 99, so less than 100. So once again, Chukonoku is running a little bit out of time. More T-34s getting produced. We still have two Panzer IVs on the field, and this Panzer IV is going straight into the base, it looks like. Not entirely sure what it's trying to do or accomplish, trying to get behind enemy lines. T-34 going to be able to combat it a little bit. And yeah, takes a nasty shot now over to the side armor. There is an AT gun over here that gets turned around and is going to shoot at that Panzer IV. Panzer IV taking incredible amounts of damage. Going to try to back off out of the area. Pops its smoke, but takes a nasty shot there at the last second by the AT gun and destroys its engine. It is now a sitting duck. Shot goes off, out of control, and the T-34 is trying to finish it off because the Panzer IV can still shoot. Takes a shot, gets the main weapon destroyed. It's still out of control. It's going to take a little while, and there it finally goes. So one Panzer IV left on the field. It is the ace tank, essentially, the ace Panzer IV. Veteran C3, look at that. It looks badass with its armored skirts and everything. And its gunner on top. So sexy. But the shock troops are moving behind the lines. These guys have done quite a bit of damage now at Veteran C3. Veteran C3 for the shock troops gives them even more awesomeness. At Veteran C3, the shock troops get 40% accuracy increase. So they're, you know, even deadlier with their weapons. Left-hand side, we see the T-34 finally getting picked up once again for Chukonoku, so he's going to get an enemy tank, and he's repairing it with the Pios at the same time, so he's going to be able to get this tank back in working order in a little bit. There's still two T-34s on the field that that Chukonoku has to deal with. Faust going off on one of them. These Grenadiers taking quite a beating. They're trying to move out of the zone, and we heard something explode somewhere. I don't actually know where. Grenadiers going for the cutoff over here on this strategic point, going to try to reduce those resources, and that T-34 is now back in full action and is going to be supporting its Panzer IV friend. Third T-34 getting produced for Peruci, so at the very least he will have the advantage as far as numbers once again. Shock troops moving into the zone, or into the center. Combat engineers moving behind them. They need to get some quick repairs off on that T-34 to be able to get it back to full strength. And those Grenadiers are going to probably... No. Are they going to die? No, they're not going to die. As much accuracy as these guys have, they do have an SMG, so, you know, SMG doesn't have incredible range. So, third T-34 on the field for Peruci. He will, again, be able to control that. But he's currently double capped by Chukonoku. Down to 82 points for Peruci. 90 points for Chukonoku. Jesus, this is going down to the very, very end, isn't it? Probably going to be down to, I don't know, I would wager 10 points, you know, difference at the very end. MG42 on the field for Chukonoku, trying to stop those caps in the center. Victory points. T-34 running into that Panzer IV. That Panzer IV is incredibly fearsome. Taking some shots at the T-34, damaging it down to half health. Second T-34 moving in for support with the third one behind it, and the Panzer IV just backs off. Stolen T-34 moving around on the right-hand side. The shock troops are trying to hold the line and capture the point. They can actually, and the AT gun taking some shots at the T-34 once again, doing quite a bit of damage, but the T-34 stays alive. Second T-34, or Peruci's T-34, moving in to finish off that stolen T-34 and finally bring it to its end. We'll take a shot to the side armor, and down it goes finally. That T-34 has seen quite a bit of battle, but it is no longer of this world. T-34 is over on the left-hand side, going to get assaulted by the Panzer IV. That is potentially a mistake here by Chukonoku. He's sending it on his own. T-34 goes in for the ram. Can he actually get in range? No, he burns out his engine, and the Panzer IV uses Blitzkrieg to get out of there, and down goes one T-34. Nice move there by Chukonoku, right on point with that Panzer IV. Panzer IV still Blitzkrieging, getting the hell out of the way. That T-34 was right there waiting for him, taking some shots at the rear armor, down to about half health. And he's circling around to get behind the T-34, and does manage to do so. And the T-34 is running away. There is a second T-34 moving in for support. Needs to get right behind that Panzer IV. Panzer IV taking some nasty shots by the T-34, down to about 30% health. Is this going to be the end of Chukonoku's T-34? We shall see. Second Panzer IV moves in, kills the gunner on top. No more anti-infantry support or anti-air. And it's continuing the pursuit. Down to very low amounts of health. Grenadiers moving in for support. They will be able to get a Faust off on that T-34. That T-34 will go down, but the second T-34 is in pursuit. Has high amounts of health, but it is reluctant in the fight and is going to go back. The Panzer IV just backs off to the very edge of the map. Does not actually want to engage. Wants to stay alive. There is now another Panzer IV on the field that could come up to finish the job for him, and this T-34 is slowly backing off. Combat engineers moving in to try and get some repairs. The other T-34 is still there for support, but they have to back off very quickly. Panzer IV moving in for the final kill. Takes a shot, misses. It is a brand new rookie squad, so you can't really blame them. And the AT guns are somewhere around here. There's an MG42 that got decrewed. Panzer Grenadiers in the center going for the victory point. Shock troops trying to clear them out. They do stop the decap, and the T-34 is still running back. There's another T-34 there for support, but it doesn't want to engage the Panzer IV for some reason. And down goes the damaged T-34. Could have used a little bit of help there by this other T-34, but it does end up going down. Veteran Panzer IV moves back to the base. He does not want to lose that. That is the only thing keeping him in the game. But 53 points down for Peruci, 87 left for Chukonoku. Once again, anybody's game at this point. Combat engineers trying to go for the victory point, trying to cap that and get the points ticking back into order. Another T-34 hitting the field for Peruci. And another AT gun getting produced. There's a lot of AT guns littered all across the map. We have one right here, and probably some more all over the place. AT gun over here does manage to take some shots at the side armor of that Panzer IV. That is a Veteran C3 AT gun. The AT gun at Veteran C3 gets... Well, I'll talk about it, but it takes some shots at that Panzer IV. Panzer IV has to crawl out of its range, essentially. Stay alive. Faust going off on the T-34, very low in health. The combat engineers will start getting the repairs off, but Peruci is currently triple capping Chukonoku, down to 67, 53 left for Peruci. Who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna win? We shall see. So anyways, AT gun at Veteran C2 gets 30% rotation speed increase and 30% reload reduction, so it means it shoots faster and spins faster. And at Veteran C3 it gets 5 range increase on the barrage ability, so yeah, the anti-infantry essentially barrage gets a little bit range increase. Another 20% reload reduction, so it shoots even faster, and then 30% increased penetration, which means it penetrates more, so it does damage much more consistently. Rifle nade going off on those shock troops. The shock troops just absorb it and decide, you know what, we don't care. And they're going to cap that point, getting the triple cap going against Chukonoku, down to 41 points. He is running out of time. Left-hand side, Panzer Grenadiers pushing in force with 2 squads. Mortar trying to hold the line. That's a Veteran C3 mortar for Peruci once again. The mortar at Veteran C3, Veteran C2 gets reduction in scatter by 20%, 40% reduction in the abilities, the barrage abilities. And then at Veteran C3, it's just a 33% range increase. So not very impressive, but still useful. Shock troops, 18-8s, and mortars trying to hold the line on the left-hand side. We still have some T-34s on the field for Peruci. Those are 3, 1 back at base, 1 getting repaired on the right-hand side, and 1 in the center. We do have 2 Panzer IVs on the field for Chukonoku, 1 very low in health, 1 is ace, and at about a little bit more than half health, maybe 60. Manages to capture that left-hand side point, down to 14 points. Ticking 1 point per tick, so he's still at time. 53 points left for Peruci, so he is sitting comfortably a little bit. Mortar forced to retreat, gonna get cleared out. I don't think it's gonna make it out alive, is it? Nope, gets cleared out on the last man and retreats off the field. So veteran C3 mortar taken out, but the shock troops are in hot pursuit of those Panzer Grenadiers. The Panzer Grenadiers are trying to run. They get behind that AT gun, but the T-34s are moving to the left-hand side. This Panzer IV is very low in health. It's still the veteran one, but it is very low in health. Gonna try to take out the Panzer IV, and he does destroy the engine, and down it goes to the AT gun. Panzer IV no longer here. 6 points left, 5-point leads for Chukonoku. I think Peruci did it very last, and I was wrong about my prediction. I thought it was going to be about 10-point difference, but it was about 50 points. But yeah, not much else here that Chukonoku can do. He sends his Panzer IV in, but victory points are going to tick, and this is going to be it. Right as the tank explodes, actually, the game ends. That is quite a sight. Let's see if I can move it a little bit forward there. There we go. Look at that tank exploding. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the game. That was quite amazing. I like that very much. And yeah, if you have any positive or negative remarks, go ahead and leave them in the comment section below. If you have any replays you want to send me, go ahead and send them to the email that I will put in the description. But otherwise, I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.